You're listening to the N2K Space Network.
And now a word from our sponsor, SpyCloud. Identity is the new battleground, and attackers are exploiting stolen identities to infiltrate your organization. Traditional defenses can't keep up. SpyCloud's holistic identity threat protection helps security teams uncover and automatically remediate hidden exposures across your users, from breaches, malware, and phishing to neutralize identity-based threats like account takeover, fraud, and ransomware. Don't let invisible threats compromise your business. Get your free corporate darknet exposure report at spycloud.com/cyberwire and see what attackers already know. That's spycloud.com/cyberwire.
It's the end of the academic year for many university students around the world, but for thousands that are part of their college rocketry teams, the work is not over. The world's largest student rocket engineering competition is held annually in June. The future of the aerospace industry gathers to put themselves and their creations to the test for the opportunity to be crowned as the overall winners. Let's dive into the world of the IREC. Welcome to T-Minus Special Edition from N2K Networks. I'm Alice Carruth. The Experimental Sounding Rocket Association, also known as ESRA, is a non-profit organisation founded in 2003 for the purpose of fostering and promoting engineering knowledge and experience in the field of rocketry. In 2006, ESRA started the IREC, initially known as the Intercollegiate Rocket Engineering Competition and later the Spaceport America Cup. The competition is returning in 2025 as the International Rocket Engineering Competition, and it promises to be the biggest year yet. After all, everything is bigger in Texas. ESRA is moving the competition to a new location, but before we get into that, I wanted to learn more about the origins of the IREC.
My name's Dustin Kohler. I was in aerospace for commercial aviation, military, and space most recently. And for IREC, I have had just about every job hat there is. And nowadays, I am kind of the unofficial historian / media guru for the IREC. I have the archive of all the media and of every IREC that I've had access to.
So let's go back to how you got involved with the IREC. How did you get started with it?
Well, I was at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University at the time, and we had just launched a rocket that I was project lead for that flew to 8,000 feet with the largest M-class motor. Motors are broken into letter alphabets. Each letter is twice as big as the last on an impulse. And the M motor size was the largest we could fit in our rocket. And then we launched that in under a semester. I took over the project that had been lingering for years, and we finished it, launched it by Thanksgiving. And then my professor came to us and said, "Hey, have you seen this competition?" And it was 10,000 feet with 10 pounds of payload. So it's 2,000 more feet with an additional 10 pounds of payload that we didn't have before. And it was the IREC competition. It was the fifth one. Didn't really know it was the fifth one at the time. And we retrofitted our rocket in one semester and came out. And our team won the first rocket competition. And that was kind of our first foray into what was the older IREC. IREC has changed an awful lot. Back then, it was a much smaller competition. There was only, we like the joke because for some reason, Embry-Riddle had a competition with UCLA on all the nerdy stuff. Like, Embry-Riddle is not known for sports. But when it comes to robots, flying machines, eco-planes, and rockets, we apparently had one heck of a rivalry. So we always used to joke there was first place, second place, the technical award, and UCLA. It was just there. There was just so many amazing stories back then because you had judges that were Robert Gilmore, who was an intern from Warner Von Braun, He always hated me saying that because he really only got him papers a couple times and maybe some coffee. He never actually worked with Wernher von Braun. And then you had Robert Ammons, who was Gilmore's intern, and those two worked at White Sands Missile Range, reverse engineering German rockets back in the day, and then creating most of the first sounding rockets for our country. And at one point, when departments of defense were having competitions of who could shoot down the highest targets, a lot of their rockets were literally just go as high up as you can and launch some shrapnel in the air for them to shoot missiles at. We also had another judge called Jim Barrowman, who wrote all the Barrowman rocketry equations. And so meeting him was kind of shocking when we first got in there. Because honestly, I was just so nervous about getting our rocket to fly. And then you come in front of all these judges, and they are the people that started aerospace kind of back in the day, especially in the sounding rocket area. And your presentation was supposed to be 10 to 15 minutes and interrupt you the entire time. And your presentation would end up being an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. They basically kept you up in front of everybody until they were satisfied that you could fly. The original reason the IREC competition started was there was a couple universities in Utah and California that were all kind of developing some sounding rocket programs. And not sure exactly how, but somehow they all knew they were kind of communicating back before we had Facebook. And they decided they wanted to have a competition. And at some point, one of these colleges knew about each other. There was Charles Holt, who was friends with Gilmore. And at some point, I'm not sure exactly on the details, but that's what ended up giving birth to the IREC competition, because I believe Gil had already started small sat, and then he wanted to start something kind of similar, but for rockets. And it was just kind of the perfect alignment of people. And then Gilmore was secretly the one pulling the strings in the background to make it all work out initially. And that was what the first IREC was. And I believe there was only like 2, maybe 3 rocket launches on the first IREC. And then from the subsequent years, there was really only ever 1 to maybe 5 going up into the 5th IREC. And then when we competed, we were the first team from the East Coast, because until then it was all Utah and California pretty much. And then I think Oregon got involved at one point. Yeah, Oregon got involved before we did. And that's where Nancy Squires came in, who's also named after one of our awards. She was an amazing person that always helped out. Like, she was one of the most impressive faculty advisors. And at the same time, she always was like the biggest help at the rocket competitions. She was the first one that their team was always one of the first ones off the rails. And then immediately after they launch and recover, she's making all of her team volunteer to help us out in any capacity that we could. And it was always amazing having her there. And so that was kind of the original core teams. And then it just kind of grew from there.
And then you came back and you ended up leading it. Come on, tell me that story.
The 9th IREC, which I believe was 2014. I got my friend Matt from college. We went out there, and I was going to try to add a video business at the time. So I was just going to get up, try out there, make enough money to pay for my expenses, and just video all the teams' launches and then give the footage to the teams. And I did that. My friend judged. And then after that event, they had a couple all calls to try to fix things, because they had a lot of growing pains, because they were, oh gosh, I'd have to double check my numbers, but I think it was probably 20 or 30 teams by that point. And at the time, it was Paul Miller, Matt Dushku, full-time year-round, with a little bit of call and guidance from some of the judges. Otherwise, it was just the 2 of them running everything and planning everything. So when Matt and I came in, we were willing to help out, and we very quickly got roped into volunteering a lot of stuff. And then we were trying to promote the event at one of, at the time, I believe they're called Orbital ATK, now Northrop Grumman site. for doing the solid rocket boosters and their technology up out in Utah. So we went to their test fire of their second SLS test fire for their solid rocket booster. And at that time, the guys basically pressured Paul into, you're sending Dustin up there. Why don't you just make a VP? So I became vice president of Ezra for that trip, and then continued that on and was helping them out for many, many years. But my original intent was I just wanted to do media. But from that point on, I was doing everything from Matt kind of handled the competition and judging, but I helped him a lot with that too. But I was, range, judges, I've had every cap.
And it was you and Matt that brought the IREC to Spaceport America back in 2017. Tell me about how that came about.
So it was Paul, Matt, and I at the time, and we were having severe growing pains from like upwards of 50-some teams. And so Spaceport comes out of nowhere, and we're like, oh, cool, that really sci-fi cool-looking place that we always see on the magazines when we were in college. So they sent out a representative. He met us, and I still laugh about it this day because I don't know what he was thinking. Because we come out of the desert, and Matt and I are dehydrated, just out of it, mentally only about half there. We go meet him at our favorite place to go grab burgers in Green River, and we talk to him. And he apparently, instead of seeing two crazy people covered in sand dirt, not thinking straight, he saw two very dedicated people that clearly needed some help and loved what they did. And so we talked a little bit there. I don't even remember what we talked about at the time. Just kind of gave him a rundown of the event. And then after that, there were a lot more phone calls, and we took a tour of Spaceport after probably around that springtime, and then kind of rush moved it over there for a bit. The Space for America Cup was supposed to kind of grow into a much larger event, and IREC was going to be like the main tent pole of that event. You have the IREC competition under Space for America, and then eventually we wanted to grow and add a bunch of more stuff to it. One of our pipe dreams at the time was to have like a little payload competition for the high schools, and then whoever like the top 5 or 10 teams get to go fly on the college rockets. We wanted to have more symposiums for the industry and more career fairs and stuff like that. So we wanted to grow it a lot more. But what ended up happening was pretty much the event kind of got rebranded as Spaceport America Cup, and except for the students actually competing, a lot of people didn't really see the term IREC around anymore.
Dustin is just one of many volunteers that put the IREC event on every year. Those volunteers want to give university students hands-on experience in rocketry, experience they cannot get in a classroom. I first got involved in the IREC as a spectator with one of the sponsors in 2018. That's when I met Andy.
I am Andy Berger, and I am a longtime supporter of IREC and a longtime volunteer. I have been in multiple roles, starting as just a simple judge and range safety support, and moving my way up to launch operations. And then I took another role as vice president for a few years. And then eventually I took the role now that I have, that is the executive director. I'm one of the I guess, longest serving volunteers other than Dustin. I plan on continuing doing this as long as I can. I've seen the benefits through my own son, who is a professional engineer working in aerospace now, as well as all the tens of thousands of students that have been actively involved.
This is run by volunteers. Why do they do this? Why do they give up so many man hours? Why do they come out to the desert to see these things launch?
Anyone that's been to an IREC, there's not a lot of convincing. It's the energy, the excitement, the competition level, watching the students struggle through the challenges they run into at the last minute. Oh, we forgot this. Oh, the range safety, highlighted an issue we have to resolve. And then finally to see them on the pads and see that excitement build, they get super excited about it. And at that point, watching the actual launch, which is a super exciting time, just the launch, they're off the pad, a year's worth of work under their belts. and they are just screaming and hollering, and that's only half of it. Watching it recover is the other part. And there are certain teams that are solely focused on the competition piece. They want to get every little facet of the competition perfect, so their score will be one of the highest that they can. And these are usually the teams that have been doing this for a few years. Other teams that are new, say first year, they're really just happy to get off the pad. They would consider it a total success, even if they came in dead last place. As long as they got to launch and recover, that's all they really cared for. And that excitement level comes across. I mean, it comes to the volunteers, and that's why we're there.
Absolutely. You've heard me say it many times that I've always called this competition like the NCAA equivalent of academia, because it really is incredible to see these students that come through the competition that then go on to have incredible careers. Have you got any stories that you could share about people that you've seen as competitors that have gone on to become professionals?
This past year, Steve Taylor, our president, was a big, big fanatic about getting the younger volunteers in there. He did not want to see a bunch of gray-haired, old, crotchety guys who know a lot about high-power rocketry, but have never even competed in the event, running it. And that's what we were to a certain extent, with the exception of Matt and Dustin, the two younger guys that were in charge. But nonetheless, we brought in close to 8, maybe 10, we have a lot more than that behind the scenes, but 8 to 10 previous competitors going all the way back to, I think, 2016, 2018, 2019, who are now, been in the field long enough. They've got, got their credentials underneath them and they're doing well, but they took over leadership roles. So I can tell you, live stream, our whole live stream project is led by a gentleman that competed in 2019, Logan, and one of the smartest guys I know of. And he's run that and turned it into just one of the world's best rocket, focused live streams ever. Just amazing what we can do with that. And then we have Uprange is being led by a young lady who graduated recently from Michigan, Uprange operations, as well as she's managing registration. We've got also our launch operations director is an Australian. And so, again, recent competitor. And I remember when he competed because he had these handlebar type mustache and you just couldn't miss him. He was, Isaac was, just an amazing, he liked talking about his team. He liked the excitement involved with it. His team did very well. Holy cow, they did great. Every year they showed up and he's supporting us as a director for launch operations. So, I can go on forever, but there are a huge number of competitors that are now running and supporting and leading the ESRA activities. So we have this year over 167 volunteers. Not all of those will attend, of course, but that is a record number. We've never, ever had that many people sign up and want to be interested in. And those folks are folks that just heard about it through our media standpoint. Those are individuals that heard through it from their previous experience as a competitor. They heard about it through friends, whatever the case might be. But we will quite likely have close to maybe 140, 150 maybe volunteers on site, which is huge. That's a record for us. And we need it. We really do need them.
Yeah, it definitely takes a village to run this. So you mentioned live stream, which I know is your baby.
Yes.
I remember when you first came to me about it when I was at Spaceport and I said, oh, Andy, that's going to take a lot to do. You don't realize just how much of a big deal it is. But you guys have succeeded very well. Tell me about that. What's that project been like to run?
My key focus was the student teams that were there was usually a very small portion of their complete teams. So let's say, for instance, you've got a team from Turkey, some university that's there that wanted to compete. The amount of money involved to spend a week in the United States is not small. The team can't send everybody. There might be 40 or 50 people on that team, but they were only able to send 7. So you got the rest of these folks, you got literally, I'd say 4,000 to 5,000 more people, hoping to get an update. Text me, email me, give me an update. How's the team doing? And so the whole idea was, let's live stream it so they can watch it. I mean, it can be a little challenging at a rocketry launch because there's a lot of dead space. I mean, the rocket launches are fairly quick, but from that standpoint, there's a lot of filler. And so The technology is also a challenge. To have cameras that are literally a half mile away, you can't just roll a cable out there. So the first attempt was literally a test of the technology. Can our Wi-Fi, can our extended Wi-Fi antennas manage it? Can our little server laptop function the way it's supposed to? And it is, thank God to Logan and Matt, two of the senior leaders in our live stream teams. Again, both former competitors have taken it and ran with it. I was way in over my head as far as the actual how to do and make it look professional. And these folks have invested thousands of hours to make it look fantastic. We are now filling all of that dead space, which literally was dead space that first year, where, put the background music on and just have a camera shot pointing out towards the, Alice, you were actually part of it, having commentators now that are sitting at a table. It's a lot like a true sporting event where, the next group of folks are staging now and we're hoping we'll have updates. It was amazing to do that. We're interviewing sponsors, we're interviewing VIPs, we're interviewing student teams. There's really not a lot of dead space. And even when we do have some, we have sponsor advertisements, like a TV station almost. So it's a fabulous live stream. I still believe, without a doubt, I've not seen anything that can touch it from a live stream standpoint. I really, really ask everyone, visit our YouTube channel, click on the live streams, and you can see, and it's got little links in there. If you've got a specific team you want to find, just drag it down, find where you click on it, and it'll take you right to the launch of that one. So having LCO, the launch control officer, up there announcing the team, we do a lot more than just, hey, team 123 launching in 5-4. We give the whole bio background of the team, why they're excited about being there. We have camera that shoots off to the side that's talking to the team as they're getting ready to launch. I would put it up, like an NFL football event. They really do everything they can to make sure that it is exciting and entertaining, and it's not boring.
We'll be right back.
And now, a word from our sponsor, ThreatLocker. Keeping your system secure shouldn't mean constantly reacting to threats. ThreatLocker helps you take a different approach by giving you full control over what software can run in your environment. If it's not approved, it doesn't run. Simple as that. It's a way to stop ransomware and other attacks before they start, without adding extra complexity to your day. See how ThreatLocker can help you lock down your environment at www.threatlocker.com.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue, subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
The IREC is held every June. This year's public events start on June 10th and run until June the 14th. Leading the activities is Steve.
Hi, I'm Steve Taylor. I am the president of the Experimental Sounding Rocket Association. My career has been a little bit varied. I started out doing basic science research and biochemist by trade. And actually, my career evolved after 15 to 20 years or so in that space. I took what I learned in the lab and I combined it with my knowledge of computers and networking, and moved on, taking what I'd learned, to be able to tie the back end of research to the front end. This was in the hospital environment, to the front end of the clinical environment, and tying those together. Byproduct of that was me learning about computers and networking. And my second career was then taking that knowledge and putting it into a professional services firm. How I got involved in IREC is I was recruited in by the folks that went out in 2017. And, I think after they realized what was there, they realized that they needed a lot more hands, a lot more support. Got involved from that group. Started basically as a volunteer, really as a pad monkey, which is helping the students, go out, load rockets, and make sure everything was being done safely, doing that sort of thing. And then, based on my work there, I moved into a operations director's role, and I took over launch operations from 19 till I became president in 23. And I did my first year as a president out at the Spaceport America, and then this year moving the event over to Midland, Texas.
Let's talk about the competition. This is a precision competition and less about who goes the highest and fastest. And you start early with your oversight. Can you walk us through that process?
We watched the teams evolve from, their concept, a preliminary design review, to a critical design review, to then after they fabricated the rocket. We're looking at that whole thing with our volunteers. So that's the safety side of it. So I want to emphasize that we're doing this safely. But the ultimate goal is we have different categories with different propulsion types. So there's sort of the entry level is the 10,000 feet category with a commercial motor. The next step might be then a 30,000 foot category with a commercial motor. And then it's, okay, 10 to 30, then you use commercial motor. What about mixing your own propellant? So we have teams that then will mix their own propellant, a solid-based propellant. And then next step might be a different propulsion type. And so you move into the hybrid category, which is a gas over a solid fuel grain that then ignites. And we have a 10-foot category and a 30,000-foot category there. Then maybe let's move it up in complexity. And this is the first category, the first new category we've had in a long time is, well, let's do it for 2 stages. So it's the complexity of getting your booster to be straight and to be, have enough oomph so that when your second stage ignites, you're both in a vertical and you have enough velocity to go to hit your altitude, which is 30,000 feet or 45,000 feet. Next category is a demonstration category where we've sort of taken the training wheels off of your altitude. And that's where we have a waiver up to 100,000 feet. So it's those increasing levels of complexity. And this year, we're also going to have a team. There were former contestants that now have built kind of a standardized bipropellant rocket. And they're going to be there to talk with students. And next year, we want to have a bipropellant category. Where in the past, we've sort of lumped that in with the hybrids. But I really, that should be the emphasis for the teams that are ready to take that challenge. We want to be able to support it with a competition. And so that's sort of the levels of categories, the levels of difficulty, and the challenges that we present to the engineering students.
So walk me through the week. Obviously, you've moved to a new location. Tell us about that location. What's it going to be like for those that come and enjoy the IREC?
Yeah, it's a large organizational and logistical challenge to move an event of this size. And so shout out to my volunteer staff, because this is an all volunteer-based organization. Everything from moving the equipment to new storage at the launch site outside of Midland. We'll get there Thursday before the event. We have to pick up things in Midland, bring them to the launch site, which is roughly about 2.5 hours away, actually, from Midland. Setting up the launch site starts from Friday to Sunday. We'll actually have teams that come out and help us, which is actually kind of fun to get their participation with the setup. And then we also have hybrid teams that will be coming in and setting up their launch pads before sort of the event starts, because that takes a lot of time. Monday is a convention center day where teams are coming in. We're having their registrations done. We're doing their flight safety reviews, which is a real important step to be able for them to get ready to fly. it's really a lot of times, and particularly for the international teams, where we've first laid eyes on the rocket. We've done a video review, but not when I say eyes, I mean hands. To actually physically see their fabrication skills and to walk through how recovery is going to work and really firsthand touch their rockets. This year it's about 3 times the size of the convention center that we had availability in Las Cruces. So there's going to be a lot more space. They got to get used to where the podium sessions are going to be and, that kind of stuff. So they'll familiarize themselves. And then on Tuesday, that's when the fun really starts. That's when the student teams are at their tables with their poster sessions. The judges will be coming around to do judging on their rockets, and the team will have 2 rooms that'll have up to 24 podium sessions where students are actually going to present their work and then take questions from an audience. They'll be continuing to do flight safety reviews. This is where the sponsors have their setup. That's where they're talking to students. That's where they're gathering resumes. AIAA will be there this year talking about, that organization. We'll have the Space Force Association there where they'll be talking about that organization. And these are international groups that this is the body that they are there to support with their organization. Then Wednesday, we're out to the launch field. We have large tents for all the students to come in and get under. We call it the pits area, if you will. It's where they're prepping their rockets to go out to the launch pads. And we'll start launching as soon as they're ready. I expect the first launches to go off 8, 9 o'clock or so. Hopefully everything is done by Friday, but the few that have left that had some challenges during the week will be able to launch on early Saturday morning. Then back to Midland, and we'll be at the Bush Convention Center, which is it'll hold 2,000 students without any problem as part of our competition.
I would like you to touch a little bit on sponsors, why they get involved in recruitment from this.
The companies, they're looking for who's that next engineer. How am I going to recruit that next engineer that's going to have an impact on my company? And the students come here with their resumes. They're ready to talk. We have some separate rooms that, the companies can use for interviewing the engineering talent. I mean, we've got the highest concentration of the brightest minds coming out of the universities. So that opportunity to reach that student, look at their skills as part of what they've done, and to, be able to, close that loop on, academics versus, practical skills. That's what these sponsors get out of it. Those are the companies that are space companies. The next set down is really the set that we're seeing a lot of, which is the engineering support services. So it's the proto cases, the PTC Onshapes, the ANSYS that have a product that is a service. And SolidWorks also falls into that category. It's software that they'll use to design. And then on the back end, there's a lot of those companies that then will provide the fabrication of those designs. So that's sort of the next tier. We sort of tailor the event and try to attract companies like that, because if you think about it, we call them, brand new baby engineers, who have been out into, just into the textbooks and to doing their first projects and that sort of thing. But that's the talent that this group of sponsors are really geared towards, and what we're trying to make sure that they have the best experience at and access to the engineering talent.
Is there anything else you wanted people to know about the IREC before we close up?
I guess in closing, I want to give a lot of credit to the City of Midland and their appetite for STEM and for them wanting to bring this event to their community. So hats off to them. Hats off to the volunteers. Getting all of that stuff and getting the pay in place and the logistics is a monumental task. And a shout out to the folks that got our waiver, because usually it takes a year or more to get a waiver in place. And we called them the bird dog team because they really bird dogged this, and we were able to get the FAA to understand what we were trying to do, in the area that we were in. And, my ultimate thanks to all of our volunteers. Having an all-volunteer organization. Everybody's doing this after work hours, and they put the time in. They're dedicated to this. I've got a lot of former contestants that are a part of my management team now that have taken on responsibilities because they want to give back and they want to make it better. And so I rely a lot on that group. I rely a lot on my Triply L3 certified Rocketeers. And ultimately we're doing this because we're in it for the love of the game. This is the love of the game, and the fact that we have over 150 volunteers that are dedicated to this and doing this is a real testament to that will and our desire to have an impact on the industry and these students' lives.
I will be covering the IREC out in West Texas this June as part of the live stream team. You can find out more about the competition at soundingrocket.org. That's it for this T- special edition brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. Our producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher. Maria Valmarzes is our host. And I'm N2K senior producer Alice Carruth. Thanks for listening.
Hey everybody, Dave here. I've talked about Delete Me before, and I'm still using it because it still works. It's been a few months now, and I'm just as impressed today as I was when I signed up. Delete Me keeps finding and removing my personal information from data broker sites, and they keep me updated with detailed reports, so I know exactly what's been taken down. I'm genuinely relieved knowing my privacy isn't something I have to worry about every day. The Delete Me team handles everything. It's the set it and forget it peace of mind. And it's not just for individuals. Delete Me also offers solutions for businesses, helping companies protect their employees' personal information and reduce exposure to social engineering and phishing threats. And right now, our listeners get a special deal, 20% off your Delete Me plan. Just go to joindeleteme.com/N2K and use promo code N2K at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/N2K, code N2K.